a little more on the function report. This addresses a few different questions. I mean, generally the whole thing, but also 5, maybe 6, and definitely 20, both 20A, 20C, D. You know, ultimately the SSA does have to determine how long you can sit, stand, walk, and do a variety of other work-related tasks during an 8-hour day. So it tries to ultimately get to how long can you do it in one spiel without breaking, and how much can you do it cumulative in an 8-hour day. Okay, so in the function report, it does sometimes ask you for to possibly give them an exact amount or an estimated but numerical amount. Question 5 doesn't do that, but sometimes people gratuitously throw it in and like, I can only sit for an hour and a half. Okay, that makes you pretty much not disabled in many jobs. So not that you shouldn't put the exact amount if you know it, but I think a lot of times people make big mistakes when they put these exact amounts. For instance, you can sit for an hour and a half, and then you feel like you need to get up because you're stiff, in pain, whatever. The assumption then is you could probably do that repeatedly all day long, and then there's nothing really to stop you from a sedentary job, at least in terms of sitting abilities. So I would suggest you actually, barring any medical advice to the contrary, so if you feel the need to speak to your doctor, go ahead. But I would suggest you actually sit down and try it for a week straight. So if you're the one that says an hour and a half or 30 minutes, whatever the amount is, why don't you consider actually seeing if you're correct in that? Because people make really broad assumptions about themselves, and I'd say 95% of the time, maybe even more, it's wrong. It's just wrong. So if you sit down at a table, sitting upright, because that would be a work type sitting. I'm not talking about recliner or, jamming back on your couch with a bunch of pillows. In a work type chair, that could be your kitchen table. Sitting upright, reasonably professionally. How long can you do? You could, I mean, to keep your mind from being too bored, yeah, put the TV on in front of you or something. But how long can you sit there before any discomfort starts? And if it gets beyond minimal, when? And then if you go and take a break, let's say you want to get up for 5-10 minutes, I don't know, that'll be your body telling you what. Go back and sit down again. Note how, put this in a little notebook. How long did you sit before you were like, I got to get up? And I'm not talking about having to go to the bathroom. I'm talking about due to the sitting discomfort. Can you go back and then do the same amount again? Do it from between 9 and 5. You can give yourself a 15-minute break in the morning, 15-minute break in the afternoon, and a half-hour lunch to deviate, because that is what the SSA is going to assume that all jobs offer, despite the fact that we know they don't. It's just part of the rules. So make sure you know what if you're going to give a specific number, as opposed to saying very limited or beyond a short time, make sure you're accurate, because you could be sinking your ship with your inaccuracies. Same is true for all the different, well, when you describe the things in 20A, because it asks for you to describe a little more specifically whatever you check off in 20A, be sure to not speak loosely and inaccurately with assumptions. Go and test yourself before you say how long you can walk. You'll see that 20C asks again, how far can you walk before needing to stop and rest? Measure it. Get out there and measure it. You can do that in a variety of ways. It could be the end of your driveway when you know your driveway's 20 yards. Maybe when you go to the mailbox, you actually have to stop once you get to the mailbox, rest, and then come back. Maybe you actually have to take your, cane, crutches, whatever. It could be resting due to being short of breath or winded, or it could be due to pain in, feet, ankles, legs, knees, hips, back. So give it all, and again, journal it down. Some people estimate by city block. Sometimes I think they no longer know really what they're doing, because a lot of them don't live near the city anymore. So they probably haven't tested it. So maybe use that GPS on your phone, and it might tell you how far you've gone. Same is true for paying attention. That's kind of a loose cannon, because oftentimes it depends on our pain levels. If it does, I would note that in there. I'd add a special little note. Maybe the amount you give is when your pain is at its lowest, if it's, always there, or the moments you're pain-free, if you have pain-free moments. Sometimes it depends on the subject matter. Let's face it. I mean, there are some things that I can't pay attention to more than 3 minutes. Okay. Give me some social security disability and you got me for 12 hours. So it really depends for all of us, I think. But if yours is pain related and mine is not pain related, but yours probably is, give it some serious thought and take some notes. Give it a week, maybe even 2, and really take a note as to attention. Maybe at different times of the day when your pain is at different levels, or your fatigue, or whatever one of your major symptoms is, that takes you off of attention. Okay, that's it for those. It's about specificity when you don't actually know how specific it is. Okay, don't guess. What you think is very limited and you're guessing, I can only do it for an hour. Guess what? That's quite able for many occupations. So again, you could be sinking your own ship with your function report by not being accurate. If it's accurate because you know it's accurate, because you've checked it out, like we're talking about here, then so be it. There's other reasons, obviously, that disable you, or else you'd probably be out working. So that limits your occupations you can do. But other things limit more, and we haven't gotten to that, yet. And if you have a professional working with you, obviously you're going to get to that point. But for this, I wouldn't. I'd be very careful about speaking loosely about that which you do not know much about because you haven't checked it out. Okay. All righty. More later.